oceans advocate tonight. John got his start on the water by working on charter boats down in Point Judith, and then he spent 18 years at Save the Bay, which deepened his appreciation and knowledge for our waterfronts, our coasts, and everything that lives within them. He's now with the Nature Conservancy, so he's taking his expertise to get another place where it will benefit all of us. So he will give us some perspective on how what we're eating fits into a much larger picture of everything that's around us.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much, Sarah, and for putting this together. And it's really great to be here with all of you. I'm John Torgan, the Director of Ocean and Coastal Conservation at the Nature Conservancy, and I'm a native Rhode Islander. I actually grew up very close to this place, and some of my earliest and fondest memories were fishing on Narragansett Bay with my dad, and that's something that I still really enjoy doing. So I feel so lucky to be in a place where we have incredible rivers and coasts and oceans and estuaries right up into the heart of a great city like Providence. We take the best of culture and nature all in one place. As a teenager, as Sarah was saying, I worked on charter boats out of Point Judith, and I saw just incredible bounty in the oceans. Schools of giant tuna, swordfish, sharks, and whales. Just fantastic scenes, and it made a deep impression on me. And it's really, while I still do that, and I love to go offshore whenever I can make the time, it's just a shadow of what it once was. It's still incredible. There are still sharks and whales and some tuna and other spectacular forms of marine life, but it isn't the same. It's changed dramatically just in the course of a couple of decades. And when we think about fisheries, we often hear it's not just the fish, it's the people and the community that's involved. In this case, it's the fish, it's the people, and it's the larger ecosystem that they fit into that really defines the place. Rhode Island is the ocean state. The waters, the Narragansett Bay, the rivers, and the coast are our greatest natural resource. It defines who we are. It adds to our quality of life immeasurably. For many reasons, people come here because they want to be near the water, be able to enjoy and appreciate those things. So that's why its protection, its conservation, its sound management has always been so important to me. In my 18 years working for Save the Bay, figuring out how to clean up the rivers that run through our city and protect and restore the coastal waters of Rhode Island, I'm lucky enough to have made my career of working to protect these places and to restore them to their natural and healthy function. And part of that job is really just to share that passion and enthusiasm with anyone. So if I come to your table, I'll be happy to talk to you about slipper shells and all of these other things, my favorite subjects. But what we do at Nature Conservancy is to take a whole system approach, really not just to look at the bay or the ocean, but working to protect fish and their habitats from the rich nurseries that occur up in the rivers and estuaries. And I'm going to show you a chart. It's my only one visual prop, so I'll work it out. What this is showing you, so folks over there, I'll turn it and then I'll turn it back. These are the coastal watersheds of southern New England. The colored areas of land on the map are drainage basins, and that's where the fresh water comes down into the rivers that meets the salt waters of Narragansett Bay and the tidal waters of the ocean. And I'll come around with this to show you its significance. But so much of that watershed is actually on the land. A lot of Rhode Island's watershed, Narragansett Bay's watershed, is in Massachusetts. And we're working to restore these watersheds, the rivers, the estuaries, which really are the nurseries of all of these species that we're going to enjoy tonight, whether you find them in the bay or whether you find them way off the coast toward the continental shelf. The estuaries and the rivers are the nurseries, sort of the breadbasket of our regional ecosystem. And so to take care of it, not only do you need to really carefully regulate what we're catching, but we need to regulate and look after and protect and restore the land and what's going into it. So it's not just about the water, it is about the land too. And that's one of the great things about the Nature Conservancy. So specifically, we do this by protecting and restoring habitats. There's direct protection, which is taking land and setting it aside and storing it to make sure it doesn't get inappropriately developed. We can do that in coastal areas, but what we're realizing as we get into this and learn more and more about it is you really need to address those land-based sources of pollution and make the bays and the rivers and those nursery areas as healthy as possible. They're naturally productive, naturally diverse, and naturally resilient, and that these creatures, which we're working to restore, can propagate on their own. A couple of interesting projects you might want to know about. We did a big program over the last year, culminating this year, called Oysters Gone Wild. When you come to a great restaurant like this and you eat raw shellfish, those shells are going into the dumpster. Those shells would be better off going back into the ecosystem, back into the coastal waters. So what we did was we collected, over the course of the past year, about 4 tons of shells from participating restaurants. And we cured those shells over the winter by putting them in a pile, letting them rain, and letting them wet. And then this spring, we through hundreds of volunteers and a huge effort, deployed those 4 tons of oyster shells into naturally based reefs in Immigrant Pond. And the idea is not just to grow oysters to eat them, but to create a habitat, taking what people were throwing away as a waste product and turning that into a valuable resource to build the homes for future oysters and fish. And already, we put them in June, already we've documented dozens of species of fish that are just teeming with life. New baby oysters are setting on these reefs, and it's really exciting to see what nature will do if you just give it half a chance and work to restore it. There's so much more going on that we're doing. We do this not just for the sake of the ecosystem, but for people to use and enjoy. And you hear a lot about the Rhode Island fishing industry being up against the ropes and not being sustainable and the end of commercial fishing. I don't think that's really the case. I think the Rhode Island fishermen are smart, they are resilient, they are going to survive and continue to fish, but they're going to have to be smarter about it. We're all going to have to really think big about how to better manage the species that we're fishing for and also the ecosystem they live in. Better information, better science, and a mind toward constructive participation. We're small in Rhode Island, so there are a lot of things that it's hard to compete on the big stage, but we can do sustainable fisheries well. We can serve as a model, not just for this region, but for the whole nation. Thank you, Sarah.